You know, Christmas is celebrated around the world in many countries. They've been doing it for years and years and years. But if you notice something about Christmas, it's beginning to creep in to many nations. I never thought it would accept this tradition or this feast of Christmas. It's going in little by little. If you notice in the United States, Germany, they've been doing it for a while. Around the world, they each have their own way of saying Merry Christmas. Chile's like Mexico, it says Feliz Navidad. It's the same. Other countries have their own way of doing it. I was wondering if Keith could pronounce what it says in the Philippines. He's been there.
Not unless it's in English.
That's very hard to pronounce. We see that the Christmas Santa Claus, the Christmas tree, stockings, you can see them in T-shirts, cups, plates, books, everywhere. You can see an emblem of Christmas. This is a bingo card. People used to play will play bingo, and they'll be using the Christmas card for it. And if you notice, they have Feliz Navidad, which would be Mexico, Merry Christmas, and so on and so on. Many countries have accepted this. What about Santa Claus? There's different names for Santa Claus in different countries, but they all point to the same thing. You know, before the Lord opened my eyes to the feast days, I used to listen to preachers, and they used to speak about Saint Nicholas, the first one. They said Saint Nicholas was a true human being at that time, and he did come to houses to give presents to people, and he did miracles at his time. That's why they would say that Santa Claus does exist because it came from Saint Nicholas, who lived many, many, many years ago. And I fell for that, and I wanted to keep celebrating Christmas, so I accepted their teaching until the Lord started to pull my ears and said, "Wait a minute, you're doing something wrong." If you notice, they all have their own different dinners all over the world. People will eat this, people will eat that. And if you go to any of the dinners, you're gonna enjoy yourself because it's peaceful, it's fun, the family's happy, the children are happy because they're gonna get presents, and it's a joyous time.
Abel,
Yes,
um, have you ever taken the word Santa and unscrambled it, scrambled it up,
yeah. Somebody told me about that.
and see how many words you can get out of it?
Yeah,
It spells,
the only word somebody told me was Satan. I don't know
that's
about
right.
that. Yeah.
That's right. Sorry to bother you.
Oh no, no problem. That's great. Now we have Christmas in all the world. We have Japan. And if you notice, we got Argentina. We got so many different places that Santa Claus has reached. You know, I was surprised there's one nation I never thought would allow Santa Claus to come in. I thought maybe they would block the borders and keep him away. And that was Iran. I never really thought Iran would let Christmas come in little by little. It's not the whole nation, but it's coming in little by little.
And Egypt kill Christians.
In Egypt, yes. Thank you, David. I wish everybody could hear you. But I want you to notice about Iran. Iran has it's coming in little by little. It's not real fast. I don't know if it's the tradition itself or that it's a moneymaker. Maybe they're starting to see money coming in through Christmas. Would somebody like to start reading this one?
Christmas isn't widely celebrated in Iran, and it isn't a public holiday. Only 0.15, that's less than 1%, of people in Iran are Christians. Most Christians in Iran are Armenian immigrants. The Armenian Orthodox Church celebrates Christmas on January 6th, along with
Epiphany.
Epiphany. Well, that's an epiphany.
If you notice, it's not hidden. It's out there in the shop. There's Santa Claus. There's the Christmas trees. There's this and that,
Why January?
and I'm not too sure why it is in January, but it's Christmas. I mean, Saint Nick is right there.
It's because of the calendar, and they feel that the calendation has been changed erroneously. And, we know from the Star Talks that others have done at Bible explorations that the calendar moves as the stars move and stuff. And so they feel that January 6th is a more accurate representation of the correct date.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know that. If you notice, there's the Christmas tree in the living room. It's coming in little by little to Iran. And it's just amazing that nobody else can get in there, but Santa Claus can.
They even have it in with their leader in the same room.
Right, right. So who's the leader? Who's the leader? Santa Claus or the other gentleman?
Though, but the Catholic religion, the Christmas is very strongly part of the Catholic religion. And even in communist countries, the Catholics have been able to be in there. So it's not completely surprising when you think about it.
Right.
Because that's very strongly part of their culture.
Yes. But it is very dangerous to be a Christian. Very dangerous. If you notice the store here, it's selling Christmas stockings. And it's all out in the open. The Christmas trees is out in the open. Everybody can see this, the leaders. There's just something, I don't know what it is, that's letting it come in.
Well, part of it is the fact that people see that as just a holiday. They don't see it as worship. So they don't see it as a religion. They see it as just a fun time of the year.
Moneymaker.
Yeah, a moneymaker, but they don't see it as worship necessarily.
Right.
Which, on the other hand, we know that there's the true and the counterfeit. But if they don't see it as that, they can slide it in there. Notice how all of these things are more the tree and the Santa Claus as opposed to a nativity scene. But,
right.
It's non-Christianized, but it's still worship. They just don't recognize it or realize it as worship.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Okay, who would like to read this one?
Many
I will.
Armenian Christians live in the Majidi district in Tehran and in the Jalfa district of Isfahan. Shops in these areas will sell Christmas decorations and items. In Jalfa, pine trees are decorated with lights. Vank Cathedral in Jalfa has a very important Christmas service on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, and you can notice the window. I mean, it's completely Christmas. The whole store. Amazing. Let's continue. This is Egypt.
Yep.
Yes, although the majority of Egypt's streets may not necessarily be lined with Christmas decorations and holiday lights all over, depending on what area of Egypt or Cairo one may find themselves in. The Christmas spirit is still very much felt in many Egyptian homes.
So it's coming into Egypt, right there where the kings are supposed to be buried. Let's continue.
Christmas in Egypt has a very different spirit and totally different traditions. Christmas not only for Egyptians, Christians, I can't read that word, it's blocked out, also for Egyptian Muslims, and both have their own traditions.
One of the traditions I like, it's the third one on this page right here. They put on new fancy clothes. So every Christmas, they go out and buy brand new clothes if you can afford it. But this is one of the traditions. They put it into Christmas, buying new clothes.
Well, we knew some people years ago, they didn't believe in keeping Christmas because they're Christians, but they'd buy clothes for their kids and stuff. That way their kids could go to school and say, oh, I got this and that new. And so they didn't feel left out.
Right. Right. Yes, they could wear it all year round. That's true.
But
If you
it was
notice,
really just a form of compromise.
right. This is a Cairo, I believe it's called, Egypt. If you
Right.
notice,
Yes.
it is decorated throughout Christmas. Have they received Christmas? Yes. Now, where's this from?
Looks like it might be Russia.
This is Russia. That's right. It is going into Russia. If you notice, it's not hidden anymore. Christmas it's white out in the open. How Santa Claus crossed the border to get in, I don't know, but he's gotten in.
Try to get out.
If you notice, the ladies are buying ornaments for the tree. It's got to be for the trees. So it's a good money maker. I believe it's most of it is because of the money. The people are making good money out of it. If you notice this one, there's an old picture. They way back then they had the Christmas tree, and now today it's growing more and more. People are coming out with more trees, bigger trees, more lights than they did back then. But they did celebrate Christmas for quite a number of years already.
I knew a lady that was from Romania, and she came over to this country, and they never celebrated Christmas in Romania. Never.
Wow.
She came to
Huh.
this country, and she was just mortified that Christians here keep Christmas.
Wow.
I just thought that was the worst thing that could ever happen. Interesting.
Wow. What about today, Jerry? What is she doing today?
I haven't seen her for years, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. Okay. Would somebody like to read this one?
Christmas has only been widely celebrated in Japan for the last few decades. It's still not seen as a religious holiday or celebration, as there aren't many Christians in Japan. Now, several customs that came to Japan from the USA, such as sending and receiving Christmas cards and presents, are popular.
You know, something funny about Christmas in Japan is I don't know how this company, Colonel Kentucky Fried Chicken, managed to come into Japan and make it legal during the holiday to eat chicken that day. So on Christmas Day, most of the people will eat chicken. How the Colonel did that to blend both of them together, the Colonel is making good money out there. They will eat chicken on Christmas Day. Something has to do with money. As you notice, they don't hide Christmas. It's out in the open for everybody. You could
Wonder if the chicken in Japan, if they call it Kentucky Fried Chicken.
We KFC.
Yeah, that's something. But yeah, if you notice it is out in the open. It's in that country. So this is their Merry Christmas, I believe. I don't know how to pronounce that, but so
I may be wrong and forgetting, but it seems like Yuko was talking about, it seems like it was the Christmas holiday. They didn't really do it. It was more of a boyfriend, girlfriend thing, type celebration, like Valentine's Day type.
oh, okay.
And but it looks like they do decorate and everything. So she said some, but I think it was Christmas. She was saying it wasn't, it was more, they were excited more for the other, but I don't know. Strange things.
Well, if you notice, what's wrong with Christmas anyway? It seems like everybody's enjoying themselves. They're having a good time. They're getting together, families. But we got to watch out for something. And we're told in scripture. Would somebody like to read this?
Jerry?
But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with great noise, and the elements shall melt with the fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up.
So how can celebrating Christmas will you miss the coming of the Lord?
Well, Abel, if you go into, in the Catholics, it's called the canon laws. In the canon laws, you'll see different subtitles, and one of them is feast. And they have about a dozen feasts, and one of those feasts is called the Nativity of Jesus Christ. So they have made it to replace God's feast with this here as being as a feast.
Right.
Actually, they
Yes.
took the pagan sun god feast and they substituted them for the feast that God ordained. And the
Wow.
thing of it is, they took Satan's birthday and dubbed it Christ's birthday. But according to the Bible, the shepherds were in the field with their sheep when Christ was born. Now in Israel, the sheep are taken in when it starts to get cold. So the sheep are always taken inside, not left in the fields at night, but taken inside no later than mid-October.
Wow.
And Abel, you
It's good.
showed in Iran all the decorations. You've seen Santa Claus, but did you ever seen Joseph and Mary and baby Jesus?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point. Yes. Thank you. You know, Satan, if you were to give Satan a report card, it would be A plus for evil, A plus for deception, A plus for everything that he's doing. Because this is what he does. If you notice this calendar here, we're in December, way at the bottom on the 19th. But if you notice this calendar, we got plenty of time to meet with anybody anytime. We got nothing to do. So we want to meet February the 5th. It'd be on a Wednesday. We got plenty of time. But something happens when you celebrate Christmas. When you celebrate Christmas, then you celebrate New Year's, then Easter, then Father's Day, then Mother's Day, then this day, that day, Veterans Day. You celebrate, and your calendar gets a little more busy. Well, we continue with that. This is the plan of Satan. Next thing you know, we got stuff to do every single day of the month. Some of you like to go talk like a pirate. You get together with people to talk with a pirate. You go to this place. This is a time to read a book. Make your own bed day. Pancake day. You know, you get busy and busy and busy, and this is the strategy that Satan has. Another month, you got different things to do. In Sacramento, if you look at day 5, it says Model Railroad Month. Sacramento has a train museum that they get together, and it's a nice place. You see all the trains. You walk inside the trains. You're looking outside, and it's very nice. I enjoyed it. I've been there once. But you get so busy doing so many activities, and this is what Satan has planned for the people of the world. He has deceived many people in the world to get busier and busier and busier. And if you notice, there's something to do every day throughout the year. When are you going to have time to go to Sabbath school, to study the Bible, to keep the feast? You ain't going to have time to do that. They even have calendar cards, every kind of calendar cards, every language almost throughout the world. Being a Catholic, you got more things to celebrate, to remember. January 1, Mary, Mother of God, and so on and so on, all the way to December.
Don't they pray to a different saint every day?
David says
New saint every day.
they pray to a saint every day
A different one.
and a different one. And this is what he's talking about right here. Every day there's a different saint you need to pray. You get busier and busier. When are you going to study the Bible? Never. You don't have time. Okay, let's someone like to read this one? Okay, anybody like to read this one?
A federal holiday in the United States. New Year's Day has its origin in Roman times when sacrifices were offered to Janus, the two-faced Roman deity who looked back on the past and forward to the future.
So some of these days that they're celebrating, they really don't understand where it's coming from. It's been made so nice today, like Christmas. Christmas, you're going to enjoy yourself, but where does it come from?
The thing of it is, people just take what they've been taught in the church down through the years, and they haven't really sought out things for themselves. We have to seek God and study the Bible and know for ourselves, not just take what's been handed down to us.
That's right. That's correct. Thank you. Okay, who'd like to read this one?
Mother of the Church, or I'm sorry, New Feast Day, Mother of the Church, St. Valentine's Day, Friday, February 14th to 2020. Originally a pagan festival, the holiday eventually was recast as a Christian feast day in honor of St. Valentine's, but there are at least 3 different early saints by that name. How the day became associated with romance remains obscure and is further clouded by various fanciful legends.
Valentine's Day originally in the sun god worship was a sexual ritual. They would be drunk, and they'd draw a name out of the hat, and that's who they spent the night in bed with. That was
Wow.
Valentine's Day.
Wow. Ain't that something? That I didn't know.
In certain places.
Ask Marty why she knows that.
Yeah.
I study a lot.
Just teasing.
I know.
Okay. Now this I came up with. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, we have so many holidays that people celebrate. And then there's some other stuff we got to do to keep us busy. We got to do jury duty. You guys attend weddings, are in weddings. And unfortunately, we got to attend funerals. Got to do taxes, visit the sick, the dentist, the eye doctor, and so on. The middle one is for the men. The men have to fix the cars, change the oils. You get busier and busier and busier. The house, you got to look at the roof. You got to paint it. You got to fix the fence. Some of you even work and got to do all this stuff. Some of you do 40 to 60-hour work. Then the animals, you got to take care of the animals. The women, it's on the housework. When is the housework ever done? Never.
Never.
It's continually a 24/7. You got to take care. If you have kids, you got to take care of them, give them meals, take them to school, buy them clothes, shoes. You know, you work continually. And now with all these feast days like Christmas, all these days that Satan has conjured up, you are so busy that you don't have time. It's just too busy. Let's continue.
As one of the signs of Jerusalem's destruction, Christ had said, many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many, Matthew 24:11. False prophets did rise, deceiving the people and leading great numbers into the desert. Magicians and sorcerers claiming miraculous power drew the people after them into the mountain solitudes. But this prophecy was spoken also for the last days. This sign is given as a sign of the second advent.
If you notice, it says many false prophets. Do we have false prophets today?
Oh,
Yes.
Almost in
Yes.
every church, somebody's speaking, somebody's teaching falsely. Let's continue.
And they call themselves prophets now.
And they call themselves prophets, like David said. Okay, let's continue. Who would like to read this one?
The teaching so widely echoed from the popular pulpits that the second advent of Christ is his coming to each individual at depth is a device to divert the minds of men from his personal coming in the clouds of heaven. For years, Satan has thus been saying, behold, he is in the secret chambers, and many souls have been lost by accepting this deception.
Isn't that something? Why would you wait for the second coming of Christ if it's at death when you go straight to heaven. And everybody goes straight to heaven,
Right.
according to these false prophets, false teachers. So why are you expecting Christ to come in the clouds? You don't expect them. This is why we're told that Christ will come as a thief in the night. Now, there was a time where the Lord showed Ellen White exactly what Satan was saying to his angels. And she wrote all this down, what she heard Satan saying. Let's continue. Whose turn is it?
Carol?
Yes. Present the world before them in the most attractive light that they may love and idolize it. We must keep in our ranks of all the means of which we can gain control.
Yeah, keep them busy, he says. Let's continue.
Satan invents unnumbered schemes to occupy our minds that they may not dwell upon the very work with which we ought to be best acquainted.
Yes, many different holidays, many different days to honor men and women instead of the Lord. Let's continue.
The world is given up to self-indulgence, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life control the masses of the people. But Christ's followers have a holier calling. Come out from among them and be separate, said the Lord, and touch not the unclean. In the light of God's word, we are justified in declaring that the sanctification cannot be genuine, which does not work this utter reunification of the sinful pursuits and gratifications of the world.
Yeah, the Lord is telling us, come out, come out. Stay with the Bible. Stay with the Word of God. Stay with His feast. His feast will get you ready for the second coming. We're going to see that in a little while.
Eddie or Ethlyn, are you on? I know you're here, but can you talk or not? Okay.
Okay, the precious hours, instead of being given to pleasure, to display, or to gain seeking, should be devoted to an earnest, prayerful study of the word of truth. The subject of the sanctuary and the investigative judgment should be clearly understood by the people of God. All need a knowledge for themselves of the position and work of their great high priest. Otherwise, it will be impossible for them to exercise the faith which is essential at this time, or to occupy the position which God designs them to fill.
Yes, this is what Satan is trying to keep people from doing, from studying the Word of God. Keep you busy. And it's very hard for a family of 5 or 6 or 7, husband and wife, and so many kids, to get so busy you don't have time for it. Let's continue.
You know, I've often said, you keep talking about busy. I've often said so many times, back in my grandma's generation, they had anywhere from 10 to 14 kids. They had to chop wood for their fires and boil pots to do their washing on a rub board and cook on the heat and all that sort of stuff, and they got it done. Now, in this day and time, we push a button to wash dishes, we push a button to wash clothes, we push a button to dryer, and can't get anything done because we're so busy, we don't really get anything done.
Yes, thank you.
U.S. holidays and celebrations. Says the Apostle Peter, there shall come in the last days scoffers walking after their own lust and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning. 2 Peter 3:3-4.
You know, if you ask the people to get ready for Christ coming, this is the answer that many people give you. You guys been saying that for years and years and years, and He's never come. So they continue to celebrate all these these feast days that the world does. Let's continue.
Do we not hear these very words repeated not merely by the openly ungodly, but by many who occupy the pulpits of our land? There is no cause for alarm, they cry. Before Christ shall come, all the world is to be converted, and righteousness is to reign for 1,000 years. Peace, peace, all things continue as they were from the beginning. Let none be disturbed by the exciting messages of these alarmists.
Isn't that something? It's even coming from the pulpits of the church. Don't get ready for Christ. Don't worry. Don't worry. You'll be all right. Let's continue.
Harold?
Make covetous and love of earthly treasures the ruling traits of their character. As long as these traits rule, salvation and grace stand back. Crowd every attraction around them, and they will be surely ours.
Yes, this is exactly what what the evil one has planned. His plan is working perfectly.
Religion has become the sport of infidels and skeptics because so many who bear its name are ignorant of its principles. The power of godliness was well nigh departed from many of the churches. Picnics, church theatricals, church fairs, fine houses, personal display have banished thoughts of God.
Isn't that something? This is not going to happen. This has happened already. Let's continue.
The day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. 2 Peter 3:10. When the reasoning of philosophy has banished the fear of God's judgments, when religious teachers are pointing forward to long ages of peace and prosperity, and the world are absorbed in the rounds of businesses and pleasure, planning and building, feasting and merrymaking, rejecting God's warnings and mocking his messengers, then it is that sudden destruction cometh upon them, and they shall not escape.
Isn't that something? You're not ready. Let's not fall in that trap. Let's continue.
To those who comply with the conditions, come out from among them, and be ye separate, and touch not the unclean. God promises is, I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty. 2 Corinthians 6:17 and 18. It is the privilege and the duty of every Christian to have a rich and abundant experience in the things of God.
If you notice that 2018 calendar, it says a 3-day weekend. Do you believe most people taking this 3-day weekend are going to make it into a Bible studying weekend? I don't think so. You know, one of the nations, one of the places on earth that I thought that Santa Claus would not come in is Israel. Israel has the Sabbath. They have the old scriptures. They can read from the time of Moses and the feast days in it. How could Santa Claus come into Israel? But it has. It has come slowly but surely. People are accepting Santa Claus.
But I
Now,
don't think they don't believe in Jesus' birth, right? So, I mean, there's messianics, but the actual, they
yes,
don't believe in it. There's no birthday to celebrate. So
yes,
I don't know what they think.
but it's coming in.
I think
It-
sometimes they do it just to not be different from the rest of the world. Because Israel has slipped a lot spiritually, even in what they do believe, or I should say did believe.
You know, Iran and Israel are at war at each other. Maybe Santa Claus will bring peace between them.
Okay.
If you notice that,
Bring
it,
on.
if you notice that Christmas tree, it's the clean with the unclean. It has been mixed together.
Look at that Hanukkah candlestick.
The clean was
Yeah.
the clean with the unclean together.
Well, I know last year, Abel, in Israel, they was trying to make laws to keep more businesses and companies open on the seventh day of the week.
Wow. Wow. Ain't that something? If you notice, I believe this is um I forgot the name of the city. I mean Bethlehem, or starts with an N.
Nazareth?
Nazareth. Yeah, thank you. Nazareth. Got the tree there. All we need is Santa Claus. Does Israel really have Santa Claus? Well, they got this that Sandy was talking about. This is the story of Christ. They even have Santa Claus.
Huh, what a sleigh.
Yeah.
That slays me.
So he
Oh, ho, Holy Land, Jerusalem.
isn't that
In
something?
the window.
Yes, that's what it says. Ho ho holy land. Ain't that some Santa Claus has been in her. No, I never thought it would go into Israel. I mean, they have the scriptures, they have the writings. It's incredible. The Torah.
Well, on that picture on the left, he was even on the Mount of Olives.
Yes.
So he's not, because you can see the don't in the background. See, he's on the Mount of Olives.
Wow. Ain't that something? Now, this is another prophecy. Remember in Revelation chapter 13? Actually starts in chapter 12 about the dragon sending a flood against the woman. And it says the earth opened up and swallowed the flood. And everybody knows that we're talking about the United States, America, how people came over because the Roman Catholic Church was against them, was going to destroy them. So the Lord gave this land, America, so people could learn about the truth in the Bible. But what happened after a while here in America? Well, the leaders started going differently. Instead of the feast days, we started to celebrate
The beast days.
the. Thank you. Yes, that's exactly right. And all the leaders started showing the people, this is good. There's nothing wrong with this. You can see president after president just showing us. This is, I believe, is Eisenhower. I believe that's him. You can see where it's been kept for years and years and years. And these is our leaders. Okay, let's continue. Who would like to read? Anybody but David.
We know that the Lord is coming very soon. The world is fast becoming as it was in the days of Noah. It is given over to selfish indulgence. Eating and drinking are carried to excess. Men are drinking the poisonous liquor that makes them mad.
Isn't that something?
There'll be a lot of that on December 25th
In
It's-
January,
through the next week.
yeah, and the last day of December.
You know, I asked a gentleman, he ran a liquor store in Visalia. And I was talking to him and I said, what makes you the most money? He said, cigarettes, alcohol, and milk. I don't know why milk, but that's what he told me. Those three things made him most of the money. Let's continue.
The time is now come when one moment we may be on solid earth, the next the earth may be heaving beneath our feet. Earthquakes will take place when least expected. Testimonies to ministers and gospel workers.
We need to be ready at all times. Always. You never know when it's going to come. Let's continue.
Jerry?
I saw an immense ball of fire fall among some beautiful mansions, causing their instant destruction. I heard someone say, we knew that the judgments of God were coming upon the earth, but we did not know that they would come so soon. Others with agonized voices said, you knew. Why then did you not tell us? We did not know. Testimonies for the church.
Now, a lot of these people that don't know is because they rejected the truth. Some were never told, but many of them have been told and they have rejected, but they're trying to make an excuse. We didn't know. Let's
And so we
continue.
keep trying to spread the word.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I studied out all the paganism of the regular holidays in order to teach the people we were dealing with at the time, how wrong they were. So we were on a trip. I can't remember if it was Turkey or Greece, but there was this Methodist minister on the same bus with us. And he just drew to us and stayed with us most of the time. And we were discussing all the paganism of these days. And so just before the trip was over, he said, I know all that, I've studied it, but he says, I still feel comfortable with keeping it. And I thought, how, as a Christian, you know the truth of it, how do you feel comfortable keeping it?
Yeah.
But my uncle moved from California to Georgia, and he was trying to teach the people there the paganism of it. And the pastor told him, he said, my grandpa kept it, my daddy kept it, I'm going to keep it. They don't care what the truth is. They're going to do what they want to do and think they still got it made.
Many of them
Yes.
do. Okay.
Yeah.
When
Okay.
the reasoning of philosophy has banned the fear of gods, this is under the title of Happy Holidays. When the reasoning of philosophy has banished the fear of God's judgments, when religious leaders are pointing forward to long ages of peace and prosperity, and the world are absorbed in their rounds of business and pleasure, planting and building, feasting and merrymaking, rejecting God's warnings and mocking his messengers, then it is that sudden destruction cometh upon them, and they shall not escape.
Wow. That's a warning. We need to be ready.
I have a question back on that one. I don't know if anybody knows, but I've always wondered, I know it says business and pleasure. Well, we get too busy with business, but we do have to have it. People, you can't get on without business. Planting and building, I never understood why that was a problem, because that's what we're supposed to be doing.
I think it's when we put it before Jesus Christ.
Yeah, get too absorbed in
I
it.
guess you get too busy, but
Yes. Making a garden and growing plants is time consuming, but you have time if you do not keep all the rest of the holidays.
Well, some people, they have a house to live in, but they want a better house.
Yeah.
They get in a better house, then they want a better house. They get in that house, then they want, nothing is good and enough.
yeah,
It's just
that's
like
true.
Rockefeller was asked, how much is enough? And he said, just a little bit more than what you've got. And at
Yeah.
that time, he had plenty to last
Yeah.
him forever if he never had another dime.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. We haven't finished, but it's almost time for Keith. We got
Keep
7.
going, that's all right. We
Keep
just won't have
going.
as many comments. Just keep going.
Okay. Okay. Let's continue. Who'd like to read this one?
Well, he said that we must pack up and move at once to Battle Creek. I asked his reasons, and he responded to give this message that the judgment has begun upon the living. I answered him, the work which the Lord has given us to do is not yet finished.
You know, a young man came to Ellen White many, many years ago and told her that God had sent him with a special message. Says, tomorrow I'm going to tell you. Ellen White says, no, if it's from God, tell me now. And he related that the judgment of the living had begun. And she says, no, 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 no. And she gave an answer. She said, the work which the Lord has given us to do is not yet finished. BE has a work to do. I wanted to put this and blend it in with BE. BE has a work to do. It's not finished. We can't let anything such as Christmas, Easter come in. We can't let the job we have is what the Lord has given us, and it's through the feast days. In other words, not to miss the second coming, you must have a knowledge of the feast days. Let me show you what I found out. Would somebody like to read this one?
Genesis 1:14, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years.
So what do we have for signs, seasons, days, and years? God tells us what it is. Man will change it and say, well, we need to see this first, or we need to see that. The Lord has made it very easy for us to understand what he has. Let's continue.
Carol?
And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also.
So we need to look at the sun, the moon, and the stars. And it's amazing what the stars do in the last days. You know that they looked at the star when the word became flesh in John chapter 1, where the wise men followed the star to see where it would lead them. When these last days, the stars also have a special significance for us. This is what Christ said. Let's continue.
Matthew 24:29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
So when are we to see the second coming of Christ? Christ himself says, the sun shall be darkened, the moon shall not give her light, the stars. He's taken us to the heaven. And then he says, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. What is the powers of heaven?
We'll find out soon.
Let's continue.
Jerry?
December 16, 1848, the Lord gave me a view of the shaking of the powers of the heavens. I saw that when the Lord said heaven, in giving the signs recorded by Matthew, Mark, and Luke, he meant heaven. And when he said earth, he meant earth. The powers of the heavens are the sun, moon, and stars.
Isn't that something?
Early Writings 41.
That's what we need to be looking at and studying in scripture about the sun, the moon, and the stars. Let's continue.
The powers of heaven will be shaken at the voice of God, and the sun, moon, and stars will be moved out of their places. They will not pass away, but be shaken by the voice of God.
It says they will be moved. Isn't that something?
That will be something.
Yes.
And there's a reason for the stars to move. And this is the reason. Let's continue.
Dark, heavy clouds came up and clashed against each other. The atmosphere parted and rolled back. Then we could look up through the open space in Orion, whence came the voice of God. The holy city will come down through that.
The Lord will come through the same spot. And after the 1,000 years, the holy city will come down through that spot. This is where the stars will be moved, will be shifted. Let's continue.
Jesus declares there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth distress of nations. Luke 21:25, Matthew 24:29, and Mark 13:24-26, Revelation 6:12-17. Those who behold these harbingers of his coming are to know that it is near, even at the door. It's Matthew 24:33.
Isn't that something? Is everyone that's keeping the feast days are looking to the sun, the moon, the stars. You're not going to be surprised at the second coming of Christ. He is not going to come as a thief to you. You're going to be ready for his second coming. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Jubilee. It says here in early writings, then commenced the Jubilee when the land should rest. What happens after the Jubilee begins? It says here. Who would like to read this one?
Soon appeared the great white
Soon
cloud
appeared.
upon which sat the Son of Man. When it first appeared in the distance, this cloud looked very small. The angel said that it was a sign of the Son of Man. As it drew nearer the earth, we could behold the excellent glory and majesty of Jesus as he rode forth to conquer.
So as soon as we see the Jubilee begin, we're going to see that white cloud. So when does the Jubilee begin? Or what is it connected to? Let's continue. This is Leviticus.
Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month, in the day of atonement. Shall ye make the trumpet sound throughout all your land, and ye shall hallow the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants. It's in something that I can't see. It shall be the Jubilee unto you, and ye shall return every man unto his possession, and ye shall return every man unto his family.
Isn't that something? So what the Jubilee connected to? The Day of Atonement, the feast days. Those that are observing the feast days will be getting ready for the Jubilee. We know that it is to sound on the Day of Atonement because the 50th year is upon us. Let's continue.
Year of Jubilee. A Jubilee shall that 50th year be unto you. Ye shall not sow, neither reap that which groweth of itself in it, nor gather the grapes in it of thy vine undressed. For it is the Jubilee. It shall be holy unto you. Ye shall eat the increase thereof out of the field. In the year of this Jubilee, ye shall return every man unto his possession.
So we can connect the Jubilee as the rest when we go to to heaven with Christ. The Jubilee will start in this earth, and this earth will have its peace, quiet. There's a story that Christ said about the feast. Who would like to start it on this one?
Jerry?
Matthew 13:24, another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man which sowed good seed to his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and wrought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also.
Let's continue.
So the servant of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it terrors? And he said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up?
Okay, one more.
But he said, Nay, lest thou ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles, and burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn.
So you guys are considered wheat, not the tares. You guys are the wheat. He's going to gather the wheat during the harvest. Now, if you notice, the harvest of the wheat is sometime in summertime. It is harvest, bundled, and it's ready to go. So by the time of the day trumpet, day of atonement, the wheat is ready to go. Is this the time that Christ is coming back? Many believe it's during the Feast of Tabernacles. I'm not too sure, but I do believe that it is in the fall that the Messiah will come. I think that through the feast days, he has shown us that he will not come as a thief in the night to us. We need to understand that we are called the wheat, not barley. The barley is in the spring. We are called the wheat, which in the summertime is ready for harvest, and in the fall it's ready to go. Okay, we're nobody really out there in all this space. We are complete to the universes that are around. We're just a little speck. But the Lord sent his son to die for us. He sent us his laws, his statutes, his judgments, and he sent us the promise that if we study and keep his laws and statutes, including the feast days, we will not be deceived, and we will be ready. So what love he has for us.